Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 110 of the All Dolphins podcast. We actually maybe should even call it episode one because it's got a brand new intro where we're hip now. We're officially hip, are we not?
I feel like that's a dig at my musical selection. I know you proposed use of other songs and heard them, and I was just like, absolutely not.
Did you veto me behind my back? Is that what happened
I
here?
did veto you behind your back. It sounded like you were trying to intro to classical music.
It wasn't. It was one of the selections that were sent to me, and I picked out not one but two of them, which I thought were pretty cool. And I told Mark, I didn't have our production fella. I didn't have any issue with any of them. I'm not like picky or difficult or finicky as some people I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. Don't ignore that.
Okay. So episode 110, we're going to continue unless we are told otherwise by the majority of the viewers, you guys, that you don't like it. We're going to continue with the jersey numbers. Number 10. I have two guys in mind here. As Omar's getting a phone call. If it's breaking news, by all means, pick it up. If not, ignore. And Omar, just to show you the kind of guy I am, you can pick which one of the two. I would go with number 10, obviously ignoring the fact that we don't do current players because Tyreek's the best number 10 the Dolphins have had, and it's not close. But it's either Chad Pennington or Kenny Stills. As Omar is studying the text that he got. So Omar, your thoughts on those two players? Well, actually, I believe you covered both of them.
Stills was a revolutionary in his time. If you think about the impact that he had as one of the longest standing kneelers to create change and awareness for social justice, and to even just be cognitive about the political climate that we were in. And he was doing it and supporting the cause before it even became cool, and did it at risk of it harming his career. And I do think that it had a factor in harming his career.
Question.
So got to go with that. Even though we kind of got off to a rocky relationship, as I do with a number of players, I developed a ton of respect for him in terms of what he stood for. That I think one of the epic stories of my career covering the Dolphins will be Jay-Z Gate, where Brian Flores tried to troll Kenny Stills by playing Jay-Z songs a day after, nothing but Jay-Z songs, a day after Kenny spoke out against Jay-Z joining a partnership with the NFL. And then so Flores plays Jay-Z, a series 5 straight songs of Jay-Z during practice period to troll him. And as a sign of support for Kenny, when we got into the locker room at the end of practice, the locker room was playing blaring Nas at the top of the speaker level. Nas is the rival of Jay-Z, as just a sign of support and show of support for Kenny. And, he was traded a week later or 2 weeks later. I don't know.
He was thrown in with the Tunsil trade.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a convenient throw in.
Yeah.
And I will say this, because there were some fans who did not appreciate what he did. And I don't care what you think about the dude. There were few people who have come around these parts in the past 20 years who did more work in the community, giving of their time, than Kenny Stills, who was a completely stand-up guy. I mean, hat tip to him, and a very good deep threat as well. So certainly not to diss Chad Pennington, who had one of the best individual single seasons for the Dolphins in 2008, but I'm okay with Kenny Stills. So today is Thursday, October 26th. And the big story, of course, is Tyreek Gate or Hip Gate or whatever you want to call it. Tyreek practiced today, however, on a limited basis, spoke to the media after practice, and I was there, and it was typical Tyreek, where he got done, and it wasn't very long, maybe 3.5 minutes, and I'm thinking to myself exactly how much of it was trolling, how much of it was legit. Uh, he was asked what first of all what happened like yesterday. I was like, well, I just needed some attention. My mom wasn't talking to me, so I wanted some attention from her.
Yep,
And
that could happen. I had to call my mom yesterday.
yeah, sure. That's why you miss a practice. And then somebody asked him like if he recalled. I think it was something along the lines of if he recalled exactly when he got hurt. And then Tyreek went with like, no, I just wanted to spend time with my kids yesterday. And it's like, okay, so Tyreek and as
Hey,
Omar
hold
said,
on. Don't pretend like he didn't give you a cheetah don't get hurt.
he did not give me a cheetah don't get hurt. He did not give any of us a cheetah don't get hurt. He did not say that. He said he's fine. He's playing Sunday. I think I made the joke walking back into the media room after we were done with the locker room, saying he could have a cast on his arm and saying, no, it's just for decoration. It looks good with the shirt I'm wearing, and I'll be fine. So the fact he was practice is a good sign. Tyreek saying I'm fine, I'm playing. I'm not exactly sure, knowing Tyreek's track record of what's a better way of phrasing it, Omar, trolling.
Fabricating the truth.
Exactly. I'm not exactly sure I would. He is. I mean, cameras were rolling. He said, I'm fine, I'm playing. But again, I don't know that cements it that he's definitely playing, if you catch my drift.
As we can look at the injury report for all 32 NFL teams, most NFL teams are probably at least 8 injured players, if not double digit, and it'll probably get worse as the season progresses. This is just the nature of where you're at in the season at halfway point. A lot of teams need the bye just to get over some of these nagging issues. And this is just a byproduct of what this league is. It's a league of attrition, league of survival. And really it comes down to who can endure and survive that 17-week gauntlet, 18-week gauntlet. Now, Tyreek Hill has been relatively a durable player, very compact, very athletic, well-trained, strong, but he's 29. And as players age, not only do their bodies start to wear down, but it takes them longer to heal. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening to Tyreek, but more than likely it's what's happening to Tyreek. And if he needs a week of rest or he needs Wednesday off to get to Sunday and play at his level, so be it. And there's no shame in that. And we should all support it and embrace it, because I'm looking forward to Tyreek breaking that 2,000-yard mark. And if he misses a game, that's not going to happen. And I'm way more comfortable with Tyreek sitting out every Wednesday and maybe every Friday, as opposed to having him miss a game. Because I think that getting the all-time receiving record with the Dolphins, while this team is having success and on a playoff run, is going to be so significant to the history of what he did and how he changed their trajectory, along with Tua and along with Mike McDaniel, of where this franchise is headed. So let's not deny that the hip is something.
Correct, because it's different than because I'm with you. I would have no issue if every Wednesday they gave him a vet rest day. That would be fine. But this was a hip injury, and yes, it's a hip injury. Teams are required to list the correct injury, and it's not like spending a day with his mom.
Oh, come on. Let Tyreek troll in peace, okay?
Sorry.
Hey, the man said he needed to spend some time with his kids.
Yeah, because they didn't have a day off on Tuesday. Oops, they did.
Sometimes you need 2 days with your kids. Don't judge that.
It's funny, Tyreek forgot to mention that. See, if Tyreek really wanted to sell it, he should have said, "No, I enjoyed the day with my family on Tuesday, but felt I needed another one, so I took yesterday off." Here's the thing, though. The point I'm making is, like I said, short of him having broken bones, I think Tyreek would always say, "I'm fine, I'm playing." Having said that, so basically him saying it to me, I would take more encouragement from the fact that we saw what he looked like out there today, and he didn't look like somebody who had any kind of hip issue of any significance. He was moving around very well. He did a drill with cones, during which he stumbled and had to cushion the fall with his hand, but he was moving around those cones very well.
Tyreek did a drill with cones?
They all did.
But Tyreek never really practices in the early.
Well, and here's another one that was different also. What's Tyreek's MO when we go out there and the players are stretching? He's never there, right?
He was stretching?
He was there from the start.
Cheetah was stretching?
The second we walked in, it's like, whoop, there's number 10 back there. Immediately. That was different. You mentioned the cone thing. But like I said, my eyeballs told me this does not look like a guy with any kind of significant hip issue. So who knows? Chances are we're going to ask Mike McDaniel tomorrow before practice. My guess is he's going to say, we'll see.
Game time decision.
And then we'll get the injury report. And my guess is going to be, it's going to say probably limited, questionable. And maybe we won't know until Sunday morning.
I think that this is a great time for the Miami Dolphins to sort of dust up, release, highlight some of the other players and playmakers that they have on their roster. I think Tyreek's injury does a couple of things with it from a domino effect. Those Chase Claypool plays that they've been working on, that they've created a package for, you're probably going to have to start to use some of those. River Craycraft's coming back. I know you're probably struggling to find a roster spot for Jalen Ramsey because that's really where the priority is. No, what? No, what?
That's an easy switch. It's a very easy switch.
Give me the roster spot.
Kelvin Joseph. Sorry, Kelvin.
All right. Okay. So
one quarterback in, one quarterback out, and it's a guy who with absolutely zero financial ramifications and who plays right now. He's been inactive or plays pretty much only special teams.
Okay. Okay. So now River Craycraft is getting back in the mix. Obviously, he's probably got to work his way back into football shape. So maybe there's a week or two. But let me put a name out there for you now. Let me guess.
Robbie Chosen.
How did you know?
I am psychic. Call me the amazing Carmen.
And I say that Cedric Wilson has been playing much better. Looking actually like a decent NFL receiver. Props to him. Let's get him continuously going. Maybe we can get that trade value up. And I think that Cedric Wilson is an interesting piece. But to me, Robbie Chosen is the guy. And I've said this from the very beginning. If you don't have Jalen Waddle and you don't have Tyreek Hill, one or the other, and both are battling injuries, who else stretches the field? Who else keeps your defense vertically challenged? And people will say, "Oh, Robbie can't do that anymore." And I say, "All right, who did he last beat? The guy that most people think is the NFL's top cornerback in Pat Surtain."
Of course, this is a part where I might mention at a time when the score was 53-13, but okay.
Was he out there?
Okay.
With Mike White as quarterback? It happened.
Sure. It did happen, but I think game circumstances matter a little bit.
Okay.
But your overall point is well taken. I don't mean to poo-poo your overall point.
And this isn't about, he's better than everybody else. This is about, what does your offense do? Your offense stretches people vertically, and it stretches people horizontally. And then it leaves that whole middle of the field wide open for Tua to do his thing. If you can't stretch the field vertically, it's going to create some problems for you. Everything's going to contract. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing the Eagles, when they prevented you from stretching the field horizontally, you saw what happened to the running game. I don't think a lot of defenses can replicate that, but we shall see. But Chase Claypool, Robbie Chosen. And if you want to throw in there Cedric Wilson, I think we know who Braxton Berrios is. He's a slot receiver. He's a return specialist. I don't see him doing more than what his role is. But I think Robbie will probably have to be active this week against the Patriots, if not a little bit more, just because of the durability issues. And even though Jalen Waddle told me it was just back spasms, that's still a little bit concerning, a back injury.
So, but here's the thing: if Tyreek does play,
Mm-hmm.
you would have chosen active anyway, just as a precaution in case something flares.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then you're going to have 6 active wide receivers, and if not, who's the one who sits?
Cedric, no offense.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see that happening.
All right. All right. All
I
right.
no, I could be wrong. I think based on the playing time he's getting, based on the comments, even though the Dolphin coaches, other than Vic Fangio, tend to be complimentary about everybody. Um, but the fact that dude's playing very well. I mean, he made the catch before the end of the first half. It was a good throw by Tua. It was also a really, really good catch.
So you willing to answer this question? Are you willing to change your offense for Cedric Wilson?
No, but I see. I don't think if they're going to go into the game thinking we have to have chosen up because we don't think that Hill or Waddle are going to last the whole game, then to me you deactivate one of the two who you're more concerned about, and then you activate chosen as opposed to having 6 active wide receivers in case. So I'm not sure I see that. Let me move on real quick. It was actually pretty much nothing but good news in terms of injuries because everybody who missed practice, there were 5 guys who missed practice on Wednesday. They were all back. That includes Robert Jones, who was out because of personal reasons. Raheem Mostert, who had an ankle issue. Alec Ingold, who had a foot injury, but then again, he didn't practice the previous 2 Wednesdays either and played in the game. And then Javon Holland practice, albeit with a red jersey, as he takes another step in the concussion protocol. If he's out there tomorrow again, I think we're looking at the possibility that he could be the one guy with the exception to the rule and be able to come back the week of going into the protocol. The one guy who missed practice, as had been indicated to us beforehand by Vic Fangio, was Cam Smith. It's not going to help him get any playing time on defense, who is dealing with a foot injury that he sustained in practice on Wednesday. Saw him in the locker room after practice. There was no boot or anything of the sort.
Okay.
That indicates, but maybe it's not serious.
And you can get all of that news at alldolphins.com, where we're going to keep you updated on the latest with your favorite South Florida NFL team. But Javon Holland is very interesting from this standpoint. Right now, he's the team's leading tackler by 1 tackle. David Long, boy, he's coming on strong.
Mm-hmm. Playing some good ball.
He's coming on strong, playing some good ball. Maybe he's earning Vic Fangio's trust a little bit more. But Javon Holland is this defense is built around Javon Holland. At least that's what I'm told. And I don't know if you're going to have to alter or change how you play if Brandon Jones is in there or Nick Needham is in there or Elijah Campbell is in there. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens if Javon Holland is not cleared to play. Now, the one thing I will say about Mike McDaniel is that he errs on the side of caution when it comes to all injuries. Am I lying? Am I telling a lie to the people?
No, and as well he should.
Yeah. So I personally feel like if a defender who actually hits people and has on occasion used his head to hit people has suffered from a concussion, and even though he's cleared to play on Sunday, I think that this might be an opportunity where you say, you know what, I know you got cleared, but we're going to give you an extra week to get you to make sure that you're right, because the last thing we can afford to do is suffer a setback. Now, we saw that with Xavier Howard in the growing injury last week. Xavier said, I'm playing. Mike McDaniel said, no, you're not.
I'm the boss, and you're going to sit and you're going to like it.
Yeah. And so this might be a situation where even if he does clear the concussion protocol, we might act. Do you want to be the Miami Dolphins, the first team to play a guy coming back from a concussion the week after he suffers a concussion? Do you want to be that team?
No, this season, and especially after what happened last year with Tua, when he may or may not have sustained a concussion against Buffalo and then came back four nights later. No, correct. And yeah, so I would think absolutely it would be way on the south side of 50-50 that Holland will play. And by the way, Vic Fangio mentioned today that they may look at different things at safety opposite Deshaun Elliott, but Brandon Jones will be the one who's going to start. He did say that.
So he's going to use different safeties in different packages.
He said he might. He said he might. The only thing that's known for sure is that Brandon Jones is going to get the first dibs.
And what did our good old buddy Vic say about Jalen Ramsey and his return?
Oh, he didn't. He said, "Well, we'll see." And you know, Vic's not shy about saying things. No, and Vic's the one who volunteered that Cam Smith because basically his media session was going to go by without a single solitary Cam Smith question because I was over it. I wasn't going to ask, and then our good friend David can't let you didn't think the interview session was going to come and go without a Cam Smith question, right? And then Vic said something I don't recall, and that's when he mentioned that again. That's the old, getting better, getting more reps, and now he's got to deal with this foot injury, and he wasn't going to be out at practice. And it occurred during practice on Wednesday. So, and he did touch on Channing Tindall as well. I wrote about this on alldolphins.com about why. There you go. Yeah, free. About why he's not getting any playing time. And if you look at it like this, the Dolphins' top pick from each of the last two drafts, they're not getting bupkis out of him. Hopefully they pan out down the road, but right now, but it's not preventing them from having a good season.
I will say this: young players get good on special teams, and if Cam Smith doesn't play this week because of the foot injury, I think they're going to miss a very important special teams contributor. And I know Nick Needham could probably go in there and fill in and help out in that role, but Cam Smith was becoming a pretty good special teams guy. I wouldn't say call him Walt Aikens-ish, but he was pretty reliable. He was becoming one of my favorite guys to watch on special teams.
Okay. I guess.
What is that?
No, what I was going to say, what I'm going to confess, and it's not because I don't watch special teams. I do watch every single solitary play. I haven't noticed them.
Yeah. So he's doing a good job as a gunner. He's very good. He might soon require two because he's pretty effective at getting off his blocker and getting downfield and preventing punts. So
okay, well, I mean they're obviously doing something well on punt coverage because I think they're either 7th or 11th in punt return average allowed. They're 31st.
Let's not crown them this week, considering we know how Bill Belichick rolls.
No, correct. And they're 31st in kickoff return average allowed, but that's skewed by a touchdown they gave up against Denver late in that game of that ridiculous 70-20 game. So, so today was coordinator day as well. Vic Fangio addressed Emmanuel Ogbah and his lack of playing time. Basically said it came down to Chubb's doing a good job. Phillips doing a good job. Van Ginkel's playing a lot outside, and it's tough to get 4 guys reps. And guess who's the 4th guy in that rotation? So,
just trade him already.
I'm sorry?
I said just trade him already.
But he's not tradable.
Somebody needs a defensive end if you pay half the salary. Half the remaining salary. He's probably owed $7 million the rest of the way by the trade deadline. You agree to pay half.
17th of $15 million.
What'd you say?
It's a little less than half of $15 million. So let's say it's
$7 million.
So you'd be willing to eat 3.5? Just
absolutely. Get it off my books. Certainly. Yes. I'm just putting it out there.
And by the way, before anybody gets any ideas of what the return could be with Emmanuel Ogbah, who had 9 sacks back-to-back years, it would be like Ogbah and a 7 for a 6.
It would be like the Chase Claypool deal where, hey, a swap of late round picks in 2025, if not 26.
Correct.
I have a little bit of a sentimental thing with Ogbah in terms of I feel sorry for him just because of the scheme changed and he doesn't necessarily fit this scheme and they don't trust him to be a down linebacker and he's played well at times. He had a game where he had an interception and he had a sack. I hate to see a guy, especially when they're making that much money, and Ogbah is the highest paid player in terms of paychecks this year.
In terms of salary, yeah.
In terms of salary, I only talk paychecks. I don't talk fake money. I'm talking about what's going to be in your paycheck, what they're going to put in your hand.
But you're not counting signing bonus, which is also
no. I do count signing bonus, but when you add it all together, Ogbah's still the highest. Still, yes, he beats Ramsey.
Sure about that? I know he has got the highest salary. I didn't know about in terms
he beats Ramsey in terms of pay. In terms of pay being distributed this year, he beats Ramsey. Yes.
Okay, well, you're the alldolphins.com salary cap guru. So
I trust me. I obsess about salary caps.
Okay.
And salary numbers, and base salaries. I hate when everybody just looks at him as a dollar sign, and then the team can't find a role for him, and then he's just sitting the bench and he's not contributing. Ogbah's still a good player. Ogbah can still contribute in the scheme. Probably not.
Correct, in the right scheme.
In the right scheme. Now, is there any other team out there in the NFL that has lost a 4-3 defensive end or a 3-4 defensive end that plays a traditional 3-4? Yes. I'm listening.
Here's the thing. There are a lot of rumblings about the Minnesota Vikings possibly being interested in trading Danielle Hunter. And the Vikings hold on before you go. The Vikings defensive coordinator is who? Hold on. Brian Flores. Who was the architect of the defense who really made Ogbah's career take off after he came over from the Chiefs after starting his career with Cleveland? It was Brian Flores. So if anything happens with Ogbah, and I personally don't think it will, to me, if anything does happen with Ogbah, it certainly would make sense that it would come from Minnesota trading Hunter to get his big contract, its salary headaches with him, and then to bring in Ogbah.
Do you really think Brian Flores is about to do business with the Miami Dolphins?
Well, that's well, but it might not be him.
You think Brian Flores is going to help? He'll wait for Ogbah next year.
But it wouldn't be him. Maybe he tells the GM, and I don't know the relationship that Chris Clear has.
They're in cap hell as well, so taking Ogbah's salary will probably present some challenges. Them and Tennessee.
But that's why they would trade Danielle Hunter to relieve some of the cap issues they have, and then they find a replacement who's had a lot of success under Flores with Ogbah.
All right. If you're still trying to win, I think
3-4 in a crappy conference that's got how many good teams?
I don't know if I can name a good team in that conference.
Well, Washington, Dallas, San Francisco, NFC South doesn't have.
No. Yeah, I was thinking their division, but no.
Well, Detroit's going to win their division, but they're not uncatchable.
Yeah.
NFC South's a hot mess. NFC West, other than San Francisco, has Seattle's solid but not great. So I think Minnesota, even though they're 3-4 and they started their season like crap, they certainly can make a run at a wild card berth. So
it'll be interesting. It helps that they beat the 49ers. I'm sure that's a shot of artificial courage in terms of how you play the rest of the season. But yeah, I maybe if they moved it Hunter, maybe they give the Miami Dolphins a call and say, hey, we'll swap some 7th round picks for you for Emmanuel Ogbah, and they can patch their defense. I could definitely see that happening. Or maybe my question is, can the Dolphins find something that can help them? And right now, I'm a little uncomfortable about the Lester Cotton, Robert Jones, Lee Eichenberg position battle for left guard. Just listening to Mike McDaniel yesterday, he was talking basically about Isaiah Wynn not really being guaranteed to come back this season because of a quadriceps injury. We all know age players take a little bit longer to recover, and it sounds like it might be a tear instead of a strain. And if it is a tear, dunzo. So right now we're going to have an opportunity to see Lester Cotton. I think it gets the first crack. Robert Jones, who started 9 games last season, and then Lee Eichenberg, who's been relatively a 3-year starter in his career with the Miami Dolphins. Problem is he's not really been good at any of the 3 positions. So who survives that competition, and potentially will they be able to hold it down for half of a season? Now, also keep in mind that Teron Armstead is coming back in a week, if not two. Let's hope it's a week.
I should mention we put eyeballs on him as well today. He was like in the periphery watching practice. I'm no medical expert where I could just tell you. I mean, he certainly looked fine. I mean, but he wasn't like running or jogging or doing anything. He was just standing around. But he was out there, so he's eligible to come back next week. Because this Sunday is game 4 that he's missing. So I'm of the opinion, I think ultimately, based on what I've seen, I did like Lester Cotton a lot in training camp for a large part, and then the play kind of dipped a little bit, and last Sunday obviously wasn't good. Sure, he came in, after the game started. It's not the most ideal situation, but he needs to pick up his game, or we could see Robert Jones in the lineup sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Let me propose this to you. Before I was so
you're proposing to me? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said before I was so rudely interrupted again.
Sorry.
When Teron Armstead comes back, do you think the possibility of Kendall Lamb moving inside to left guard could happen? It is a position that he has not played.
Correct.
A position that he would have to learn. But considering he's played so well at left tackle, might it be an ideal option just to slide him over one spot?
Based on what I saw from Robert Jones last year, I think if the Lester Cotton experiment does not work, Robert Jones needs to get a crack at it before Kendall Lamb becomes an option once Armstead. Because again, you're doing a position projection here, because as you mentioned, he hasn't played guard. He's been a tackle, and he's been a very, very good backup tackle for the Dolphins.
And you still need a swing tackle.
Correct.
Now, may I propose to you another proposal? La'el Collins is still out there, free agent, not necessarily a guy you don't know what shape he's in, what kind of physical nature his knee is. Probably not in football shape right now. I think he's trying to have some workouts for teams, but you could potentially add him to the team, give him a test out at guard, if not into that swingman role. I'm with Kendall Lamb. I know he has not played the position before, but I'm sorry, I can't ignore what I've seen at tackle. And I would like to reward a guy who has given his all to helping stabilize his team. Because right now, we could talk about issues on the Miami Dolphins. Would left tackle position be in the top 10 of issues?
Not at all.
So why shouldn't we try? Why shouldn't we experiment? Why shouldn't we kick the tires when Teron Armstead does come back and say, hey, we've got an open roster spot. Let's see. Like, we act like Isaiah Wynn didn't make the transition. We act like Jermon Bushrod didn't make the transition. Hell, Liam Eichenberg made the transition from tackle to guard.
Yeah, but how many of those guys had prior experience at those spots? I know Isaiah Wynn played some guard last year for the Patriots, so that it wasn't like a position that was foreign to him.
That's true. And he played in college.
Sorry?
And he played in college at Georgia.
I think he played both at Georgia. I don't remember if Bushrod ever played any guard with the Saints before he came over.
Nope, guard. He was the first-time guard who was here.
Here's my thing with La'el Collins, though. A guy with his credentials, what's it been now? Month and a half?
Maybe 2. Yeah, no, month and a half.
I don't think I've really heard of that many workouts for him. Maybe the Jets and the Giants at one point.
He could be cherry picking. He has the right to be cherry picking.
Yeah, don't you think that there would be more interest, more buzz about teams being after him? There's got to be something there. He's had some injury issues the last couple of years, and do the Dolphins really want to go the route of another, I don't want to say injury prone, but then another high-end offensive lineman with injury?
I'm talking minimum salary right now. I'm talking minimum salary for a playoff ride.
And then that becomes a question: is that would Collins settle for that, or is he looking for more?
I don't care.
No. Well, no, I'm not opposed to the idea, but again, here's the thing too: is if you go big name fishing for offensive linemen, which sounds great. I go back to last year when the Dolphins signed Eric Fisher, and obviously there was some bad luck involved because he got hurt in practice. But yeah, how'd that work out? It's an option out there that maybe needs to be considered at some point. To me, I would still say, let's see how the Lester Cotton experiment works out. Give Robert Jones a shot. Maybe at some point you consider moving Kendall Lamb if those two things fail. And then again, there's nothing preventing you from signing a veteran offensive lineman at any point. And for those who are suggesting like go get a good offensive lineman in a trade, again, good luck finding a team willing to trade a good offensive lineman.
Hey, we can always ride the Eichenberg Express at left guard.
There you go. It's another.
It's an option on the table. It's not off the table.
Absolutely. And if you remember again, at the time he got hurt last year, what were the Dolphin coaches all saying? He was playing his best ball of the season when he got hurt. Understanding the Dolphin coaches tend to be very complimentary.
Yeah. He was playing his best ball of the season. So hopefully listen. I don't think he's played poorly the last two games. And he went up against some monsters with the Eagles. And he was not a turnstile. He was not in the quarterback's face all game. So props to him. Hopefully he can continue to progress. And hopefully this is the week that we get Connor Williams back. And maybe that opens the door for Liam Eichenberg to get in there as that left guard. So we shall see. Xavier Howard, Connor Williams both practiced 2 straight days.
Limited, however. They're both limited. Okay. In fact, the Dolphin, I apologize for staring at my phone here. I don't have my glasses on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 players limited in practice. Craycraft, Hill, Holland, Howard, Ingold, Kohu, Mostert, Needham, Ramsey, Waddle, Williams. Smith is a DNP, and David Long was the only one who was full. I don't even know why he's still on the injury report, to be honest with you. He's got a knee injury. And then the Patriots look like they're doing well physically because there are only 2 guys who didn't practice on Thursday were Calvin Anderson, who's a backup offensive tackle who's not playing unless there's an injury, and then Ty Montgomery, who's a backup running back who didn't practice Thursday because of personal reasons. Everybody else they had on their list also were limited. So who knows? They looked like they might be. If you remember, the Dolphins played them in week 2. They were missing both of their offensive tackles, which paved the way for a big game for Bradley Chubb, if you remember that night.
Mm-hmm. Who's heating up? And I'm sure Vic Fangio had nice things to say about him.
Funny you should mention that because I'm about to write Bradley Chubb's story on alldolphins.com, which is not there now, but on alldolphins.com for free. And I asked him about my perception was that he was coming on, and Fangio basically kind of said, no, he's been playing well all year. You can't just focus on the sack numbers, and the sack numbers and the tackle numbers have been really good the last couple of games, more so than they've been for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like the Dolphins have a chance to be at full strength, especially if Tyreek plays and Connor Williams and Xavier Howard gets cleared. Not full strength because you still don't have Teron Armstead. But do you worry at all about this matchup with the Patriots?
The reflex used to be always, never count out a Belichick team, but that's kind of faded a little bit. And I know they played a really good game against Buffalo last week, and it wasn't just a comeback at the end. If you watch that game, they kind of dominated most of the game. they just can't match the Dolphins' firepower. And I think ultimately, this is a case, as always, in a matchup like this, the Dolphins' margin for error is much greater than the Patriots. I mean, the point spread's 12. So obviously the odds makers don't think it's a close game at all. Dolphins did beat them up by only 7 in week 2 when the Patriots were missing their 2 starting tackles, but they also had Christian Gonzalez and Matthew Judon on defense, who probably are their 2 best defensive players along with Kyle Duggar. So, no, I'm not terribly worried about the matchup. I think it's a game the Dolphins should win fairly comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
You?
I never sleep on a Bill Belichick coach team until they start to actually play poorly. And I think this team, you take them lightly, they can get you. You know you're going to take an L on special teams. Just prepare for it. And I think if you're not able to sustain a rushing attack, which, I would like to see a resurgent rushing performance. I know Jeff Wilson didn't get involved much, but I'd like to see him get a little bit more involved. But if you should be able to sustain a rushing attack and be successful with it, I think you'll have success against this Patriots team. Always, I think you have more on the line of scrimmage than they do on both sides of the ball. And hopefully your defensive line can get pressure on Mac Jones. And based on how they performed against the Eagles, I'm encouraged, and I'd like to see them continue to take that step forward and become the defense that this legend Vic Fangio is supposed to be coaching. So hopefully that they continue to take those steps forward.
No, but I will tell you, as I mentioned, I think the matchup of the Dolphin defense, especially up front against the New England offensive line, is going to be a lot different than week 2, because one of the things that New England did is the right tackle's position's been a nightmare the whole year. As they finally decided, how about we move our guard Michael Onwenu to right tackle? And they did that, and he's playing really, really well at that spot. David Andrews is a very good center. Trent Brown, I know you're a big fan of his game. When he decides he wants to play, he's a really good left tackle. So I think that could be interesting. I'll tell you one matchup that really, really intrigues me, and that's Tyreek Hill against J.C. Jackson, who is back with the Patriots after the Chargers basically get away. I mean, traded him. You want to talk about a trade for nothing. I mean, ate a lot of his salary also. I mean, they signed him as a free agent last year. Disaster from A to Z.
Did they eat some salary?
Oh, they ate a ton of salary. And celery too, salary and celery. But if you remember week 1 at SoFi Stadium, I mean, J.C. Jackson was like front and center in that game, and usually not in a good way. I mean, Tyreek Hill completely toasted him on a go route on the long touchdown pass. He committed that DPI at the end of the first half to give the Dolphins a freebie 3 points. He did have the pick in the end zone and then decides to take it out. And then Dolphins got him at the 4-yard line, forced a punt, and then immediately scored right after. But the word is I'm hearing is that J.C. Jackson in the Chargers scheme was somewhere between brutal and horrible. And supposedly now he's back to being the old J.C. Jackson, playing great in New England scheme.
Supposedly, some guys are very scheme specific.
Yeah, and supposedly his metrics and his game since. Sorry?
I said that's why you got to be careful when you pay the money.
Correct. Yeah. No, absolutely. But supposedly he's back to being J.C. Jackson, so that's a matchup that intrigues me, obviously, if Tyreek plays.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got plenty more coming this week. Today is Thursday, so we got Friday where we'll get the injury report. On Saturday, we'll have our live chat. We haven't figured out the time yet. We're still negotiable. I got a play date, so I got to figure out how we can do this around my daughter's play date.
By negotiable, it's like when Omar tells me he's going to do it. My family, you got a play date. My family is in Orlando this weekend for Halloween Horror Nights.
You didn't go. That just sounds like a horrible experience. Halloween Horror Night on Halloween weekend,
No.
Like
I told my
crowd
daughter,
after crowd after crowd.
No, there was a lot of crowd. I told my daughter, it's like, you guys have fun, and then I love to be with you guys, but even if it wasn't a football weekend, not necessarily my cup of tea anyway.
Okay. Well, I hope you got some big plans for your bye week. Because
Oh, but we do.
It's like that. Okay.
Little family trip on bye weekend.
Oh, okay. Look at you doing it big.
How about that?
All right, everybody. We do have good news for you.
There we go. Go ahead, Omar.
We are getting contracts to sign to be part of an audio team, but the podcast is back up and running on audio platforms. It's not on every audio platform. Apple is probably going to be the last. They got to be bullied into the situation because, you know, they're the big dog, so they move at their own pace. But we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, I think we're on Google Play. So anywhere that you have the audio podcast or download, we beg you, please subscribe, because we lost all of our subscribers dealing with our old record label. We forced our way out of that contract, but they got to keep all our subscribers. We beg you to please, even if you watch it on YouTube, please subscribe to one of the audio podcast platforms. This is a new space for us. We're really working on doing big things, and we need your subscribing. It's all Dolphins now. All Dolphins on YouTube, all Dolphins on the podcast platforms. So anywhere that you would usually get this podcast, just go in, put in the search function, all Dolphins, and you should be able to find us and see our wonderful faces there. But on that note, we're out. Visit alldolphins.com for the latest news, analysis, and columns, and it's all free. You can find Omar Kelly and Alan Poupard on the All Dolphins podcast discussing South Florida's NFL team on YouTube and anywhere you find your audio podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share so you stay in the know.